What's up, Weekend Warriors, and welcome to the semifinals pod. We are live. Congratulations to the four teams that have made it to the dance. In order, Chris T, Chris Malone, Jake Harding, and Terry Bertolot. Congratulations. Round of applause for those gentlemen. You were the best 4 of the 10 of us, and we're super proud of you. Now, I am reluctant to say you have to navigate some obstacles here in Week 16 in the semifinals. Number one obstacle, you need to set your lineups and check for alerts during Christmas Eve and Christmas. Good luck to those of you with families. Maybe that's a point down for Malone, trying to chase around his daughter and wife, while maybe Jake, still a young guy, can take 30 minutes on the toilet to maybe look through some things. So advantage Jake there, maybe in the time category. We'll see. But in addition to navigating Christmas, this I've heard on Twitter and from some other sources may be the single most tricky weather weekend in the NFL in 5 years or maybe all time. And it starts here tonight on Thursday Night Football, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But not only is this a weather game, there's all around the league weather games that are going to affect the lineups that managers may or may not put out in the semifinals. So good luck to you guys. You made it here, and that means you managed well. So maybe you can manage well through these high winds and rain and snow and minus 10 degree weather and etc. So before we get into my picks, first I did promise a guest on the show. This taping is Thursday night, about a couple hours here before the game. So I'm going to get a guest on maybe Friday, tomorrow, maybe Saturday, before the games. They will have Thursday as happened, but that doesn't matter. They're not giving predictions. They're just giving you a feel. They're giving you raw emotion is what you want, and some trash talk. So it's a little foreshadowing. But first, we need to recap the league. My NFL picks last week were 0-2. Boy, that's a shocker. And I'm 12-17-1 on the season. Woof! After starting 9-3, I'm not even going to add that up. I'll let you guys. That's an Easter egg for y'all at home to figure out how bad I've been. But 4-1 in my fantasy picks in our league for my predictions. I predicted Jake to leapfrog Terry, and I predicted Kev to leapfrog Pearson, and both those things happened. In fact, I was correct in those games. I was correct in Kevin over Otley. I was correct in Chris over Dean. I was correct in Jake over Pearson. And I even was correct in myself beating Terry. I was wrong about Brett beating Valone. Valone took care of business. Did not matter for the standings. I also this week, so I'm 41-34 on the season. I can only stay above 500 as I'm only predicting 3 more games. So we're going to strive for 44-34. Worst case would be 41-37, most likely somewhere in between. I also paid out the high scores of the week yesterday, I believe. Chris, 4 high scores of the week, netting $100. Jake, 3 high scores of the week, netting $75. Me, Pearson, and Dean, twice each. And I think Brad had 1, and I think Valone had 1. So got some money back. And the standings, Kev was very into not coming in last. Pearson was kind of like, I don't care. He takes last place for the 2nd consecutive season. He will be contributing $40 to pay for the winner to go out for drinks and celebrate. Like I said last year, I had to pay for my own champagne. Pearson's buying it for you, and he will get his team named again next year. How does he put up with us? I don't know. He's a shell of a man in fantasy right now, but he doesn't watch the pod, but he's a member of the league. We embrace him. He is the man when we're all outside playing wiffle ball. He's the guy that comes out and says, "Stay off my lawn, kids." This is a true test to see if he watches it. But that's him right now, and maybe someday he'll find the goodness again and find the competitive nature. But in any event, that's the standings. Kev's hyped to come in ninth. The rest of us, doesn't matter. We're locked. We're eliminated. And we're focused. And I'll be honest, even though I'm out of it, I'm very excited for this finals. There's a lot of storylines involved. Chris, and myself and my dad, longest tenured members of the league since the beginning that hadn't won. I got the monkey off my back last year. Dean names his team Harding Dynasty Part 2. He doesn't make the playoffs. I don't make the playoffs, but there is a Harding in the playoffs. So there's a chance that his team name comes to fruition if Jake takes it home. Chris, I mentioned, aforementioned, has never won a championship. He has a chance to get the monkey off his back. He has the support of the commissioner. I polled the league this week and said, who are you guys rooting for? Brett emphatically answered Chris T. So he's rooting for you. K-Law said he's rooting for Valone. Valone, another member of the league, first year last year. Tough season for him. He was in dead last for most of the season, battled back in the second half, and then was able to have a bounce back season this year. Was in first for most of the season. Now he's in second. And then Terry, I've been exchanging texts with Terry this week. He said, I don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Luck was on my side this year. He came in second. He lost to yours truly last season. So he's looking to make a surprise first round victory potentially over Chris. So a lot of good storylines this week, and it will be interesting. Now, let's get into it. First and foremost, before I give my predictions, Thursday Night Football. I'm 0-5 in my last Thursday night picks. I have come full circle on this game. I started with the Jets, they got to win. They're coming off a loss, but it's Zach Wilson. He stinks. The Jaguars playing good. Coming off a huge victory last week against Dallas. Emotional victory. Second half comeback. I like the Jets. And I said, no, that's a square pick. It's a 1.5 point line. The Jets, with Zach Wilson, you'd think they'd be more favored. They need to win. I went back on the Jaguars. Then I'm like, it's going to be a monsoon. It's an under game. It's a weird game. Then I'm kind of leaning back to the Jets. The line went to 2.5. I want to take the under, but it's low. It's 36.5. I'm sticking with the Jaguars. I think Doug Peterson has done a great job coaching the team. They have a chance. Focuses on the Jets because they can make the playoffs. The Jaguars could make the playoffs and win the division. In the Titans are in first right now with no Tannehill. Malik Willis stinks. He could be good in the future. Right this second, he stinks. He's not equipped to lead an NFL team. They do play the Texans this week, which we'll also talk about later. But I'm sticking with the Jags. I think it's going to be a gritty game. It's a grinding game, and I think they get it done. So that's my Thursday night pick. Hopefully I win one. My other pick, I'm going to give it out now. Why not? -2.5, Detroit. Another team, Carolina gets too much respect on the book. They were favorites last week at home against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh came in and blew them out. I had Carolina, I think, in a teaser, and they didn't even cover the teaser. It was like +7. Detroit, they just find a way to win games. Last week I bet against Detroit. They grinded one out against the Jets. The previous week they beat the Vikings. On the road in Carolina, Carolina's still Darnold, no McCaffrey. That game, weather-wise, I think is supposed to be decent. I'm going with Goff, who I love. Great player, doesn't get a lot of respect. Having a great season. Could win comeback of the player of the year. Probably won't. But I'm taking the Lions -2.5 is my other pick. Now, getting into it. We're going to start with what I think is the easier of the two matchups to predict. Terry versus Chris. Now, what I will say, and I know this is just a semi-championship. It's a semi-final, semi-championship. But last year, in the finals against Terry, I was a huge underdog. I think ESPN, I was at least favored to lose by 15+. So, Terry in this matchup, 114 is his projection versus Chris is 129. That's a big disparity. However, you never know what can happen. And with some of the weather, it can throw a wrench into the mix. Chris has Allen and Diggs. There is no way in the world that he is benching Allen and Diggs, but that is one of the worst weather games on the slate this week. It's going to be very cold, very windy. I think that's fine for Allen. He'll get it done with his feet, but can Diggs do enough? Devonta Smith, Chris has. Gardner Minshew is the quarterback. Not good for Smith, but he can still do enough. Garrett Wilson tonight in some rainy weather. He's been excellent, but, not the best matchup there. So, there's a path to victory I foresee for Terry. He's got some guys in some weather situations. Travis Etienne, one to mention for sure. David Montgomery in the aforementioned Bills game. Dak's been good, not great for Terry. The guy that's been carrying him is Justin Jefferson. He's an absolute beast. Can Etienne do enough in the rain tonight? to get him off to a good start, to get him ahead. But we know that Chris has a superior team. He has the best core lineup of anybody in our league with McCaffrey, Diggs, Allen. Kittle has had a great comeback last couple weeks with Purdy, McLaurin. We mentioned Garrett Wilson, Devonta Smith. So I'm taking Chris. He's been my pick since the very beginning. I have no reason to deviate from that. Well, I should say not from the very beginning. For the past 6, 7, 8 weeks, I've been really pumping Chris up. So I'm taking Chris over Terry. Terry could pull the upset, but I have faith in my boy, and I think he takes home the victory. Now, the next matchup is a doozy. Jake versus Malone. These two were battling it out for the division championship in Pearson's league 2 weeks ago. Jake ended up taking home the crown. Valone was knocked out first round of the playoffs. I think Jake might have been throwing some shade at him. They already got a little trash talk. They're playing again this week. Valone, another team I've been very supportive of all year. Jake, another team I've been very supportive of all year. And I think week 4, Valone was a guest on the pod, and he said, watch out for Jake's team. They're 2-2, but they could be making a push. Now, first and foremost, Jake's running backs are so good. He has Zeke Elliott on the bench, Barkley, Walker, and Derrick Henry at home against Houston. That is making me tremble in my boots. I'm not even Valone, but if I was Valone and saw Henry on the other side at home against Houston with no Tannehill, Henry could have a huge game. Probably will have a huge game. Now, Jake, where's his question marks? Goddard coming back off the injury list with Minshew. Zay Jones, rain game. DeAndre Hopkins, Trace McSorley, Mike Evans, hasn't caught a touchdown since 2012. He has some shortcomings, for sure. His team, I think if Hopkins was with Kyler or Colt McCoy, I feel a little bit better about that. But he's still DeAndre Hopkins. He leads the league in receptions since he came back from the injury. Valone's team is not as strong as it was 4 weeks ago. I think he would be the first to admit that. Hollywood Brown, obviously takes a hit, same as DeAndre Hopkins does. Olave, out. He's been good for Valone all season. Bad lately. Rachaad White, we thought he was going to be very good. He's been very bad. After he kind of got into the timeshare with Fournette. Mahomes carried him all year. Eckler carried him all year. Sanders should get more run this week probably with Minshew. Last week, 11 for 42, 2.5 points. After 30, 10, and 31. The 2 games before that, 4.5 and 5. He's going to need a big week from Sanders. Lamb in that same game. Waddle, a ticking time bomb. Last week caught a 70-yard touchdown. If he doesn't, the 2 weeks prior to that, 4 and 0.5. 21.5 last week. So some guys with a little bit of volatility. Latavius Murray currently in his lineup. Last week, 130 and a touch, playing the lowly Rams. So the path for victory I see, in my opinion, Jake has more paths to victory. I think he has more solidified points at the running back stalwart position, preferably with Henry. I think he's going to get him off to take a big bite out of Valone's pie. But Valone has guys. CeeDee Lamb could go off for 102. Waddle could go off for 102. Eckler could score 4 touchdowns. Valone could win this game. But I am taking Jake, and that says a lot. I am been a big supporter of MGA. I've been talking about it all season. I do think he can win this game. But I think Jake and Chris T are destined to meet in the finals. Gentlemen, it's been an awesome season. I love doing these videos. I was even more excited today because 3 people texted me, where's the pod? What's going on with the pod? So it's been awesome. I will have a special guest, some more content, the Content King. Take the Jags tonight. Good luck. And Merry Christmas to everybody. It's been a lot of fun. I hope everybody has a great, great, great holiday. And I'll be on here next week for a New Year's pod. Kamish out. Positive vibes only, baby.